Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. You can watch this program live on our Facebook page, Radyo Pilipinas World Service, and you can catch up this program later in the evening through our YouTube channel, and you can also hear us live on our audio streaming at Evox PBS receiver app. So join us for another edition of Front and Center with your host, Jerome Toledo.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
On Monday, U.S. President Donald Trump has declared that the two-year war between Israel and Hamas has ended. And upon this declaration comes with the release of last living Israeli hostages in the hands of Hamas, while Israel freed several Palestinian detainees. And on top of this exchange is the signing of the ceasefire agreement that world leaders, including President Trump, who have attended the ceremony, committed to work on collectively to achieve peace in the region. As President Trump said, war is over. So moving forward, what needs to be done to avoid restarting the conflict and achieve lasting peace in the region? And what's the situation of our Filipino community there in Israel in the midst of the signing of the ceasefire agreement? So we are now joined, and we are honored to welcome in the program the Israeli ambassador to the Philippines, none other than Ambassador Dana Kirsch. Good morning, Ambassador Kirsch, and thank you so much for joining us in the program Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good morning, Jerome. It's wonderful to be with you and your listeners and viewers.
Thank you so much. All right. Okay, so it's a historic moment, Ambassador Kirsch. Ceasefire agreement in Gaza has been signed. U.S. President Donald Trump has declared the end of the Israel-Hamas war as Hamas freed the last living Israeli hostages, and at the same time, Israel freed several Palestinian detainees. So how was the atmosphere like in Israel right now as amid these developments, Ambassador Kirsch?
Thank you again for having me today. The past 24 hours have been glorious hours, and with a lot of hope for peace and a lot of joy of seeing families reunited. I found myself glued to the screen yesterday all day when I had moments in between meetings to see what's going on in Israel. And we are now in a day you are finding me here at home today because it's the day of Simchat Torah, the joy of the receiving of the Torah and ending the Torah, and this day exactly 2 years ago was a day that from a joy became a nightmare, and a nightmare that we had experienced for the past 2 years. So to see yesterday 20 hostages coming back and reuniting and getting hugs from their family was a day of so much hope and so much joy. It's, hope is also connected to sorrow because you were hoping for better days, and a better day came, but there had been horrific days, and we are still waiting for the rest of the hostages to come back. Only the 20 hostages that are alive had returned, including 4 hostages that lost their lives by Hamas terrorist organization. But we are still longing for the other 24 that had not yet been returned, and it's a breach of the agreement by Hamas terrorist organization. But we are hopeful that united with other international support led by the Americans, we will be able to relocate them, and they will be united and brought to burial, and that the hearts of the loved one will be put at ease after these 2 years of horror.
And it's a good thing that this declaration comes in the midst of the Jewish, I think, a Jewish celebration or I think a holiday. So it's a good timing. And at the same time, you mentioned that although there are hostages that were freed, some more are yet to be freed by the group Hamas. Ambassador Kirsch.
Yes. If you remember, 2 years ago, 251 people had been taken hostage by Hamas. And we were longing for their return. And there were a few returns throughout the 2 years, including even one Filipino, Jimmy Pacheco, that returned after 48 days in captivity. And I have to share with you some hopeful moment that we all shared. That in July they gave birth to another child, a daughter, and they named her Israela. After the name of Israel. So you see a kind of a close circle of Jimmy Pacheco and his family that he remembers Israel fondly, despite even being hijacked and kidnapped by the Hamas terrorist organization. So you're rightly mentioning that we were hoping for the release of 48 hostages. And as I mentioned, 20 had been released, including four that were deceased and were murdered by the Hamas terrorist organization. So we are longing for the return of an additional 24. And there is a united international aid that is going to help us in this. The Americans, the Egyptians, Turkish and Qatari that are going to help us put pressure on the Hamas to follow the agreement and the first phase and return the additional 24 hostages that are still kept under captivity.
And those countries headed by the United States will work closely to, like you mentioned, pressure Hamas to abide by the agreement, which was made or written by U.S. President Donald Trump. Okay, going to the provisions under the agreement or peace plan or 20-point peace plan that was written by U.S. President Donald Trump. One of the provisions there, Ambassador Kirsch, is the delivery of aid. And my question is, what specific plans is Israel taking to ensure a significant and immediate surge of humanitarian aid, including food, water, and medical supplies, will be delivered safely to Palestinians, to civilians across all of Gaza?
We don't. Our fight is not with the Palestinian people. Our fight is with the Palestinian terrorist organization that led and basically hijacked both our people, both the Israeli and the Palestinian people. And relief and humanitarian assistance had been provided to the population of Gaza throughout the 2 years of war. And we had done everything in our capacity to deliver food and medical supply, together with United Front, also with the Americans. Lately, there was established the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and I think that total we have provided 185 million meals. And even in the past 24 hours, aid had kept on entering Gaza. So it's very important for us to mention that basically Hamas terrorist organization and other jihadist organization had hijacked the hope and the peace from both our people. And we will do everything to the healing in both sides, and the Israeli people and the Palestinian people. And as you mentioned, I have to stress that you mentioned the leadership of President Trump, and the United States has been an ally of Israel for many, many years, as it has been an ally of the Filipino people and leadership. And I would convey my gratitude and my heartfelt thanks for the leadership of President Trump and the rest of his leadership. Yesterday, he gave a speech in our Knesset, in our parliament, and it was a very moving speech. And he got, I think that I stopped counting after a while how many standing ovation he had received from 120 members of Israeli parliament, and of course our presidents and our prime ministers. And both President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu
Mm-hmm.
really complemented one another in their messages, messages of hope,
Mm-hmm.
and the 20 points that President Trump had illustrated are very humanitarian corridors, and
Mm-hmm.
the Israeli Defense Forces had been even trying to defend the food by themselves in order to that it will reach the people who needs it and not the terrorist organization that had been hijacking
Up.
it.
All right. Okay, so speaking of Hamas, Ambassador Kirsch, calls for the Hamas to lay down their arms is included under the broader peace plan, which is the 20-point plan. What's the Israel strategy for achieving this and pressuring Hamas to decommission their arms? And what role do you see the international actors will play in this crucial aspect?
In so many ways, we live in a global village. That every conflict in every place in the world impact all of us. The same way that we are experiencing other conflicts around the globe. Of course, I'm Israeli, so my nation and my people and securing and defending ours is closest to my heart. The problem in conflict is that on many occasions we are dealing with a very vicious enemy. And the Hamas terrorist organization, I'm sure that your listeners still remember what happened 2 years ago. And the fact that they had burned families alive and raped children, ladies, and even after they lost their life, after they were murdered by the Hamas terrorist organization. So it really is a barbaric organization that has inflicted so much harm, and it's not trustworthy. So you are rightly saying that the fact that we have an international front holding hands in hands and trying to pressure the Hamas to this time, after so many times that peace or agreements had been brought to their attention and they said no again and again, that this time they will follow through and that they will provide comfort and ease and healing to both the Israeli people and the Palestinian people alike. So, as I mentioned, in respect to the 24 hostages that are still there is a united front of the United States, the Egyptians, Qatari, and Turkish, and the same entities will be also uniting forces in trying to push a Hamas terrorist organization to follow all the 20 points that President Trump has illustrated for all of us. And as you probably also know, that after President Trump had visited Israel, he continued to Egypt and had
Yeah.
a peace summit with other allies that are going to unite forces to try to help Israel reach peace in the region.
I see. All right. So, still related to the ceasefire agreement. So, may I ask this, Ambassador Kirsch, what is the Israel's position on who should govern Gaza post war after the conflict?
I can tell you that when I was student in the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, I visited Gaza. And I was in an interfaith conference there with Palestinians and Israelis, from different faiths, from the different three Abrahamic faiths, Jewish, Christians, and Muslims. And there was the late leader Arafat, the leader of the Palestinian people, and there was hope for peace back then. And it was like the 90s. And that's my childhood. I remember myself as a child visiting Palestinian villages in Jenin with my father, who had worked hand in hand with Palestinian people. So I'm hopeful, and not just me, all the Israeli people are hopeful to reach again, to be living in peace and coexistence with the Palestinian people. The only problem is those terrorist organizations like Hamas that are trying to prevent both of us from reaching that phase. So I do hope that we will be able to reach this dream and that it will become a reality of Palestinian and Israelis living in coexistence one next to the other in the very near future.
And also lasting peace in the region, not just
God willing. We
in
have
His
peace
will.
with Jordan and with Egypt, and we are
Yeah.
looking forward to have peace with other of our neighboring states and other Arab and nations, even farther than our region.
Okay. So, still on the topic, the plan, which is the 20-point plan, also calls for Israel to maintain an open-ended military presence inside Gaza, along its border. So, how does Israel reconcile this military control with the goal of a lasting peace?
Um, Let me give you an illustration of the proximity of between Palestinians and Israelis. Imagine that our embassy is located in BGC. Imagine that in Makati there lived a terrorist organization that want to basically murder people living in BGC. That's the proximity. It's within like 10 or 15 minutes drive, depending on traffic, of course. So, of course, the end game is to have peace. But for that to happen, we have to have that the terrorist organization will stop having on its charter the alienation of the state of Israel. So till then, till we get the reassurance that every Israeli can live in peace and security with and not experience terrorists butchering their families within 15 minutes drive, we will have to have some presence there. But but as I mentioned, the aim is not to have this presence there. And I have to share with you something that happened only 20 years ago. In 2005, Israel basically withdrew from all the Gaza Strip and took all of its presence and all of its military presence and even graves. We uprooted more than 8,000 graves of Israelis and relocated them in Israel to be able to, okay, let's have unilateral withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, and God willing, there will be a opening and an open and thriving entity next to us. But what happened is that instead of they started a democratic process of election, and who won? The Hamas terrorist organization, and they had been inflicting upon us mortar shells for the past 20 years. So until we can get the assurance and guarantees that there will be no terrorists inflicting harm on no Israeli and inflicting no harm on Palestinian people, because they were using them as human shields to protect themselves. They were hiding in tunnels underneath hospitals and schools of Palestinian people, basically to cause them harm before they cause downstairs while they were in the tunnels. And they're using all the aid that had been provided for the Palestinian people once we withdrew to build tunnels that from them the terrorist organization came into Israel. So if we'll get the reassurance, I would hope that we will be able to have no presence of Israeli defense forces there, as long as we have leadership and people that are hoping for the same peace with us as we hope that we will reach with them.
All right. Okay, so okay, I'm down to a few more questions, Ambassador Kors, before I let you go. Okay, so the Philippine government, through Ambassador Antonio Lagdameo, when he spoke at the UN General Assembly, has previously affirmed its readiness to send a UN-led or United Nations-led humanitarian or peacekeeping contingent to Gaza. So, if such a mission were materialized, Ambassador Kirsch, will Israel provide support for our contingents there?
In 2 words, of course. And in length, I want first of all to reiterate the unique and wonderful partnership that we have with the Philippines, even before the inception of the State of Israel, and even before the inception of the State of the Republic of the Philippines. Even President Quezon had helped 1,300 refugees from Europe to flee the Holocaust while providing rescue and shelter here in the Philippines. And the open door policy that he had decided very courageously back then is the reason that there is no visa even up till nowadays. So you can go and
Yeah.
come to Israel with no visa, and vice versa. We don't need any visa.
Mm.
So this was only the first stage of the unique partnership between Filipinos and Israelis, and within our leadership. And the only Asian state that voted for the establishment of the state of Israel in 47 was Philippines.
Mm.
So it's long and lasting, our friendship, and since then we are keep on making the foundation of this friendship and partnership flourish more and more. So if there will be peacekeepers from any entity, including the Filipinos, we will do our utmost to safeguard, because their role is to safeguard us, the Israeli people. And we have peacekeeping, UN peacekeeping forces in Lebanon and in Syria, and the partnership with them, while they are protecting our northern borders, is very, very tight and very, very close. And I am sure that it will be the same for forces that if they will be in the southern border as well. And of course, the unity and the friendship with the Filipino people and government will continue on strong and flourishing.
All right. And Israel will help Philippines to assist the UN contingency should this UN contingent will be sent there to Gaza. Anyway, so okay, I have two more questions for you, Ambassador Kershaw, before I let you go. Okay, so on the safety of the Filipinos in Israel, okay, so that's amid the ceasefire agreement that was signed this week or yesterday rather. Recently, you have urged when you came here in the Philippines, you spoke about and appealed to the Philippine government to lower its travel alert on Israel. So how can you assure that the Philippine government and the families of overseas Filipino workers that the security situation in Israel is stable and the safety of around 30,000 overseas Filipino workers in Israel is guaranteed?
Thank you for the question. First of all, we all as diplomats are one of our main role is to protect our citizens. So I totally understand the DFA decision to have to advise for travel alert, and there is a travel alert level 2. So that is every nation wants to protect its citizens once they go abroad. Of course, I do hope that because of the peace that we are so hopeful for now, this will be uplifted, and there will be no travel advisory, and people can come and go to Israel from all over the world, and especially from the Philippines. Whenever I meet Filipinos, they say either have been 8 times to Israel or have been longing to come and visit it, and whether to go in the footsteps of Jesus in Jerusalem and Nazareth, or to do some extreme sport, or to do some other touristic attraction that Israel can offer. So this is a general observation. Now, you're rightly saying that there are 30,000 OFWs in Israel. And let me share with you that unfortunately one OFW had passed away in the recent operation we had versus Iran. Her name was Leah Muskera.
Right.
And she and her sister had been OFWs in Israel for a couple of years. And her sister accompanied the body of Leah back to her hometown, and our consul from the embassy had went and then paid respect in the wake. But the sister decided to go back to Israel. So in many ways, you see that there is normalcy in living in Israel alongside the fighting and alongside the war. And you know that the media tends to, on occasion, to exaggerate the situation. And I may also add that the only way to fight terrorism is to keep on living a normal life. Because the aim of terror is to terrorize, is to cause you to be confined to your home, not to go out in order not to be inflicted by harm. So the way to fight it is to keep on going. So that's why we are encouraging tourists to keep on coming. We are providing as much maximum protection, and there are shelters, and people in the OFWs had a lot sitting next to one another in shelters in order not to be inflicted harm. And thank God there were loss of life, unfortunately, of Filipinos. 4 Filipinos lost their lives, and I mentioned the 5th one, and another Filipino-Israeli soldier. But at the same breath, there are heroic a situation that had expired. I don't know if you probably had remember Camille, an OFW that's 2 years ago, in October 7th, had basically protected her care, the lady that she was taking care of, 95-year-old lady, that she basically told the Hamas terrorists, take my money, take my phone, just let us be. And he let them be. And she had protected herself and the 95-year-old lady. And those are the stories that of showing resilience in fighting terrorism. We have to be united together to fight and overcome these terrorists that come trying to cause us, to inflict us, to stop living and traveling and tourism. So I do hope that there will be an uplifting of the travel advisory, and I do hope to have many Filipino tourists coming to Israel, and many Israelis coming to visit your amazing Philippines. And we can reassure you that Israel will do at utmost to protect the Filipinos that are coming and enjoying our sites in Israel.
All right. And Filipinos can be assured of the security that the Israel will give to our kababayans or Filipino diasporas and also overseas Filipino workers there in Israel. Anyway, and with that, we don't have much time, but I appreciate your presence in our program, and thank you so much, Ambassador Kirsch, for gracing our program. And I hope we have you in the next time that we will invite you again. Thank you and have a good day.
Maraming salamat. Thank you for having me, and I'm hopeful for peace and prosperity for both Filipinos and Israelis, and for peace and prosperity in our region. And I do hope that many Filipinos will come to visit Israel, and vice versa. Israelis will come and enjoy your more than 7,000 islands of paradise here in the Philippines. Many thanks. Maraming salamat.
Shalom, and thank
Shalom.
you. Shalom. All right, and that was Ambassador Dana Kirsch, the Israeli ambassador to the Philippines, as we speak about the ceasefire agreement that was signed yesterday on Monday. And Front and Center will be right back after these short messages.
Paliwanag mo sa tao na hindi totoo yan.
Dahil ang totoo, yung totoo ang dapat ninyong malaman.
Nagkalat sa internet ang fake news
Ang
o
ginagawa
mali
ng
at
fake news, tinatapon niya yung tao.
What they are doing is creating panic.
We say no.
Yung pagkalat ng fake news. And some of it's dangerous.
Sana iwasan po natin pag-spread ng fake news.
At di magpapakalat ng disinformation at misinformation ang kasulukuyang administrasyon.
Stop telling us fake news because you're wrong.
Para sa totoo at mapagkakatiwalaang mga balita at impormasyon, Radyo Pilipinas.
This is a public service announcement.
Discipline is the key. Umiwas sa aksidente sa daan. Ang pagmamaneho ay may kaakibat na responsibilidad, hindi basta mapaandar lang ang sasakyan. Kilatisin ang sarili, ang kahandaan sa manibela, siguruhing inyong konsentrasyon ay hindi magagambala. Importante rin na ating laging isipin, init ng ulo ay huwag pairalin, bagkus kaligtasan ng lahat ang siyang dapat unahin. Isang mahalagang paalala mula sa Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko 738.
This is a public service announcement.
Public service announcement
From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko 738.
Time to celebrate kulturang Pinoy. Tradisyon, musika, sining, literatura at iba pa. Anything and everything fun and Filipino. Ito ang Pinoy Kultura.
Naaalala niyo pa ba ang mga katagang ito?
Amoy pawis, amoy araw. Ano ba yan? Puro sugat ka na naman! Bakit wala na naman kapares yung tsinelas mo? Ang dungis mo!
Ma! Tama na! Ayos lang, di ba? Masaya naman tayo naglalaro sa kalye ng sipa, patintero, agawang base, habulan, jolen, trumpo, text, at marami pang iba.
Some Filipino games just show how creative we are. All we need are players and nothing else. Ang saya balikan ng ating kabataan.
Kain, tulog, laro, laro, at laro.
O ano, game na?
Pagkabilang kong 3, nakatago na kayo!
Yan ang Pinoy Kultura because our culture is cool.
And welcome back to Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Still with me, Jerome Toledo. And a short discussion regarding the activity that was conducted by the Philippine Navy as they conducted a naval exercises off the west coast of the Philippines with allies amid the tense situation in the West Philippine Sea and South China Sea. So how is this exercise will benefit our Navy? And how does this exercise support our plan to defend our maritime territory? So right now, we have on the line the Commodore Francisco C. Cacho, Philippine Navy, and the exercise director of the exercise Sama-Sama 2025. Good morning, Commodore Cacho. Thank you so much for joining us in the program. Jerome Toledo po ito sa Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Good morning, Commodore. Good morning. Good morning, Commodore. Thank you so much for joining us in the program. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat din.
Alright. Okay, Commodore Cacho, so sino po yung mga nag-participate na countries po dito sa exercise Sama-Sama 2025?
Dito sa exercise natin, there are 10 participating navies. There are 7 which includes the Philippines, the United States, Canada, France, Japan, United Kingdom, and Australia. And the 3 remaining are observers. Italy, New Zealand, and Thailand. So sila yung mga observers for this year's exercise Sama-Sama.
So maraming mga bansa, mga kalyado po natin ang nag-participate po rito sa exercise Sama-Sama 2025. So ano po yung mga ships ng Philippine Navy na nag-participate dito sa exercise na ito?
Pwedeng pakiulit?
Ano po yung mga barko po o ship ng Philippine Navy?
Natin.
Yes.
Okay, sige. Lima. There are 5 ships of the Philippine Navy that participated in this exercise. Una dito yung BRP Ramon Alcaraz, PS-16, BRP Valentin Diaz, PS-177, BRP Antonio Luna, FF-151, BRP Lolinato Tuong, PG-902, and BRP Hiner Tinangag, PG-903.
Alright.
Maliban dito, mayroon din tayong 3 aircraft na nag-participate. Isang Islander and 2 helicopters.
I see. Okay, so what specific operational capabilities ang ipinakita doon po sa Sama-Sama 2025 ng mga assets na pinadala po natin sa exercise na iyon, Commodore?
There are around 8 ang operational capabilities na na-enhance dito sa interoperability and tactical proficiency ng ating mga units that participated in this exercise. Una dito yung kanilang capability on communication exercise or COMEX. The other one is vertical replenishment, replenishment at sea approaches, and photo exercise, maritime interdiction operations, visit board search and seizure, air defense exercise, combined anti-submarine exercise, fabrication exercise, and screen exercise. So ito yung mga 8 activities that enhance the capabilities ng mga participants natin.
Okay. Ano po yung naging parang detail? Ano po yung mga detalye na naging sa pag-execute ng mga exercise na ito? Paano na-test po yung interoperability capabilities ng mga 5 barko po ng Philippine Navy?
Unang-una, yung kasing participation itself sa exercise sama-sama, involved na dito yung planning and execution ng ating mga troops. So, with these two aspects, it vertical or it focus on 3 line of operations wherein dito talaga na nahasa yung ating mga troops and the participating units. So, isa dito about maritime security operations wherein nagkaroon ng mga joint patrols, tactical maneuvers, simulated missions, and synchronization of decision-making and execution. So, another line of effort also is on subject matter expert exchange. So, dito naman nagkaroon ng ranges of best practices ng mga participating countries. Then, mayroong lecture on standard procedures, alignment of operational doctrines, para ma-strengthen yung compatibility and future combined operations ng mga participants.
Okay.
So, ito yung mga line of efforts.
Okay.
And aside from that, mayroon pang community engagement and personal interaction. So dito, nagkaroon ng enhancement ng cultural understanding and camaraderie ng mga participants.
I see. So yun po yung mga kaganapan po dyan sa exercise sama-sama 2025. Okay, medyo kapos na po tayo sa oras. Pero how does this successful conduct of Sama-sama 2025, particularly in the vicinity of the Palawan Islands, Commodore Cacho, fit into and support the Philippines Navy's objective under ito nga pong tinatawag na Comprehensive Archipelagic Defense Concept?
Dito sa ating activity na ito, maganda na involve natin yung participation ng iba't ibang country dahil dito natin na ipapalaganap yung ating effort sa Indo-Pacific, which is it should be governed by the respect of international law, particularly the UNCLOS, and it should be peaceful and secure. So ito kasing Palawan and the Philippines is currently challenged by the West Philippine Sea issues. So importante na itong mga like-minded nations, kagaya ng mga kasama natin sa exercise, ay kasama natin sa ating interoperability operation. So ito yung maganda dito sa ating exercise na ito.
One last question, Commodore Cacho, before I let you go. So magpapatuloy pa rin po, tuloy-tuloy pa rin po ba itong exercise na ito? And may kasunod pa ho ba ito?
Yes, this is yearly conducted and it is basically tasked sa mga naval forces natin. So sa ngayon naisagawa dito sa Western Naval Command, depende sa planning for next year kung saan itatas. So sa ngayon dito siya ginaganap sa Western Naval Command.
Okay, all right. Okay, very well said. Thank you so much po for accepting our call and joining in the program po, Commodore Francisco Cacho, the exercise director of the Exercise Sama-sama 2025. Maraming salamat po. Good morning.
Maraming salamat din.
And that was Commodore Francisco Cacho of the Philippine Navy, the exercise director of Exercise Sama-sama 2025, as we talk about the interoperability capabilities that was tested on that naval exercises. And with that, we now conclude this edition of Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service, together with our technical team headed by Ms. Susan Aizon, Hiro Lucero, and Justine Osias. This is your host, Jerome Toledo. Until next time, mabuhay.
You have just heard and watched Front and center. Front and center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and center.